Good day and welcome to PagePedia Videography Challenge. I'm your host Nkechi Okafor, and with us today is Mr. Soji Oyawoye, the CEO and MD of Research Intermediaries Limited, one of the leading outsourcing firms in Nigeria. You're welcome, sir.
Thank you very much.
So, can you tell us a little about yourself?
I'm an economics graduate. Also have a postgraduate diploma and a master's in business administration. I worked in the banking industry for about 19 years, after which I left to pursue the entrepreneurial journey, which is about 10 years old with Resource Intermediaries Limited. Beyond that, I was born in Kaduna in my early 50s, and I'd love to say that with pride. My face looks a little younger.
Wow.
I have two grown-up children. One actually is in NYC at the moment. I spent the first 15 years in the north, between Kano and Kaduna, because my father was a civil servant who traveled between those countries. So I speak the Hausa language very well, and I can read and write in Hausa, and of course my native language Yoruba, and then English. In a nutshell, I'm also what you call a capacity builder. I'm a mentor to quite a few people and an entrepreneur.
Great. So you mentioned you've been in the banking sector for about 19 years.
Correct.
Wow, that's a long time. But so, how did that go? How did you see that? How was it?
I got into banking by default. I had an uncle who owned a bank at that time. And by the time I graduated, I needed to do my NYC. I was deployed there. But the story behind that is a little deeper. While I was still in University of Ilorin, this same uncle had a soap factory called Global Soap Detergent. It was one of the major distributors at that time. And he offered me a holiday job in my third year. Now, this was me, third year economics undergraduate. And I got to the factory to find out the job was to work as a laborer, basically in part of the construction going on in this factory. Laborer as in working with the team that mixed the concrete and carried head pans. Well, it seemed interesting to me at that time, and I accepted the holiday job. Strangely, I didn't know the man was putting me to a test. I worked there for about a month, and then I was deployed to the store for the last 2 months of my stay there. So by the time I finished and graduated, I needed a place to serve. He heard and just offered me space as NYC, and from there, of course, employment right after. I worked in 5 banks after that, and it was extremely exciting. Banking teaches you a lot of things about detail, being proactive, deadlines, and extremely target driven. And of course, you meet a lot of people.
Okay, that's nice. So what inspired you to start up Research Intermediary?
What happened again was when I was about 35 years old, I can't remember the book now, but I stumbled on a book that basically helped you discover your purpose. And the key things that I learned from the book was, usually by the time you are 40, if you haven't found purpose, life could be quite miserable. And the book led you to ask 3 key questions. First question, who am I? Second question, who would you like to be? And the third question, how do I get there from where I am? And in answering those 3 questions, it suddenly dawned on me that though I've been in banking at that time for about 15 years, it wasn't who I was. I was already a general manager, which is like third in line to the MD in an organization. So it was the top of my career. And it just dawned on me that no, I don't find fulfillment here. And it led me to discover that I'm a people person. So I began to think of what to do along the lines of people, management as a business. And I just put it aside. Then Soludo became CBN governor. And one of his primary objectives was to reduce the number of banks from about 95 to 2025. Then it dawned on me, if I'm a GM, the next level is an executive director or an MD. And the options were shrinking from 95 to 25 banks. Clearly, my options of becoming an MD was becoming slimmer. So quickly I dusted off my 5-year-old plans and stumbled on people management as an option,
Okay.
which is outsourcing. And I found that most banks at that time were doing contract staffing rather than outsourcing. There's a big distinction. So I did some research and found out the distinction, and surprisingly, no school locally was teaching it. So I registered to the International Association of Outsourcing Professionals. It's a global certified
And like
body.
age of 35.
This was about age 39, 40.
Okay.
Right, as it is. I finally left banking at age 40, a little over 40, and started this when I was 41.
Oh, great. So, when people usually like start up something new, they usually face like challenges, if you agree with me.
Correct.
So when you were about to start this, what kind of challenges did you face?
Well, major challenge usually would be that of finance. And interestingly, that was solved for me a little easier than it may be for most people. Resource intermediaries, I'm just a part owner, even though I'm MD CEO.
Oh.
The chairman of the company, Mr. Alex Oko, with whom we own this business together, actually was one of those I approached for this business venture, and the discussions led to a partnership that has thrived this long. Now, Mr. Alex Oko at that time was the MD CEO of the bank I was working in as a chief business driver for some of the branches. So he must have seen certain positive values and attributes in me over the years for him to consider me worthwhile to partner with. So my general lesson to people generally is to make sure that your values, your attitudes and character are such that when you need some form of assistance, there will be people who can invest in you.
Great. So if you had to like do it all over again, what do you think you would have done differently?
Starting a business, part of what I've learned over the years is that your people are your greatest assets.
Yeah.
Your people. I didn't know that at the beginning. In fact, the first set of people that I started off with in Resource Intermediaries Limited are not the people that I'm with at the moment. I thought, as most people think, what you need to do is look for the Harvard trained, the first classes and what have you. And that's what I did. In fact, I went to people who work with Accenture, Adecco, and all the big names that were doing what I like to do, and thought if I could just get people from there, that would be it. And I found out over the years that those kind of people are good to help you run something that is already established. But what you need in starting a business is to find people who are teachable, who are ready to fold their sleeves and go into the gutter with you. That's what I needed. So the first set of people could do a lot of PowerPoint presentations and speak a lot of grammar at meetings, but no business was coming. At the moment I dropped those and began to look for people like me because I'm a third-class graduate, as it is. So I went to Esut, went to Osu, went to Yaba Tech, and people, my kind of people, as it is. And that was a turnaround for my business. So what I found out greatly, and what I'll do differently, is to learn to build the talent, rather than looking to recruit the talent, which is a mistake businesses make. It's better to build the kind of people you want, rather than looking for the people who fit what you want. It's always difficult to find the right fit. Pick them, invest in them, and develop the right people.
Okay, that's nice. So what are you most proud of?
From what I've said, I am extremely proud of the people. People are my greatest assets. So when I say people, both people that I work with on the business side and family, as it is. I also come from a relatively humble, not backward, not poor, but relatively humble background. And family has been a great inspiration for me, where you stick together and your pride comes from who you are and not what you have, and not where you come from, but just who you are, just that self-concept. And that to me it's been a great strength over the years.
Okay. So to you as a person, what would you say empowerment means?
Empowerment for me as a person, like I said, I'm an entrepreneur, and I'm
Yeah.
more of a social entrepreneur, someone who loves to develop people's capacities and try to guide them to become better than they are currently, to be the best. So empowerment for me principally is to make sure, and that's my vision as it is, my personal vision as an individual is to enhance the capacity of everyone I come in contact with, such that by the time they're parting with me, they must be different. And that's like a philosophy that I practice. You don't come in contact with me without leaving with some positive values and vibes. So for me, that is empowerment, just consistently trying to help people be better than they are.
Great. So how do you bring courage and conviction to risky situation?
Simply by execution. I've learned also the hard way that rather than focusing on the results, it's more important to invest in the execution. So I want to go to Sokoto, that's the end result. Right, but if I stay on my chair from now till next year, I won't get to Sokoto. So I don't worry about should I go by air, by road, which is faster, which is cheaper. First thing is, can you first get up and make the inquiry? So execution, and society places too much emphasis on the outcome and the result. And a lot of times when you do that, you are confounded by environmental factors that look challenging and difficult and scary. So people would rather sit down. So how I overcome courage and all of that is, it's just take the step. Take the step. Part of where I've learned that, I think it's from some funny side. I used to be a DJ while in University of Illinois. And what I learned about music and party as a DJ is basically you find out the guys that seem to dance the most and have the most fun are the ones who ask a lady to dance, and even when she says no, they don't go to sit down. They try to find out, why don't you want to dance? Maybe she says, I don't like the music. So they ask her, what music do you like? So she tells them, in my time it was Michael Jackson, maybe Thriller. So he has learned something from a rejection. Right. He goes to the next girl, and usually by the third or fourth girl, one will dance with him, usually out of pity that this guy has tried. So what I have learned in life to overcome courage and all of those things is even failures and rejection, they're positive. But you need to quickly learn the lesson out of it. Like that guy learns that she likes Thriller. So of course, when the DJ puts Thriller on, will he get a dance or not? Right. But he learned it from failure and rejection. But most guys go to sit down out of shame, and they don't stand up again till the end of the party. Right, so that's the difference. So failure, rejection, it's nothing. It's actually positive. But you need to learn the lesson from that quickly, then get back up and move on.
Okay. So how do you keep your feelings and emotions from clouding your decision making?
It's a very difficult one. But part of what I think is my strength is that ability to separate my emotions from work. I've been known to maybe go out with the staff for lunch, which I do a lot of times. I mean, we're like a family, one of you, and we come back and the person meets a query on the table, and he's like, but okay, why did you tell me? Right. So they're two different things as it is, and how you also do that is with practice. It's over time. Once your people can see that you are that objective, and that you're not be clouded by emotions. I'd worked in a place before where a relation was a subordinate, and she did something wrong, and I gave her a query. Of course, she reported to her husband, and it became a family issue. How can you query? And I'm like, this is work, this is not our family business. And she refused to answer the query. I just wrote to the head of HR that I can't work with this person. Can you move her out of my department? Unfortunately, the bank sacked her instead.
Wow.
as it is. So that's who I am. I currently work with my elder brother, works with me. I had to sanction him in the past. So there's work. So it's not that complicated. And once you are like that, then everybody can see that the decisions you make are not based on where somebody comes from your village, or it's because you are friends. Work is work.
So apart from Research Intermediaries Limited, what other professional organization or non-professional organization are you associated to? Like, what else do you do apart from this?
I'm a member of the Institute of Directors of Nigeria.
Okay.
I also currently I sit on the board of the Association of Outsourcing Professionals of Nigeria. I am also an associate certified outsource professional of the International Association of Outsource Professionals of Nigeria. Beyond that, I'm a non-executive director in 4 other companies: a microfinance bank, a stockbroking firm, and also another outsourcing company in Ghana. But I'm also an author. I've written 6 books now, 3 on relationships, 1 on business development, 1 on discovering purpose, and the last one just sharing my thoughts when I was 50. I'm also a public speaker, and I'm a facilitator. I'm on the training faculty of South African University Business School called GIBS. I'm on the training faculty of MTN Academy in Nigeria and Ghana. I'm on the training faculty of the Pan-African University, the Lagos Business School, the School of Media and Enterprise Development Center, and quite a few banks and companies in Nigeria that I also facilitate training for. And outside all of that, I also am a public speaker, basically on areas in which I've either written books or my experience as an entrepreneur. I'm also what you call, I'm a Sunday school teacher.
Yeah, from the research, I actually saw that.
I'm a
So I
Sunday
was
school
expecting to see
teacher.
it.
I've been within Christian Church of God.
Okay.
I'm also a couples counselor, so I get to, apart from mentoring people generally, I get called to speak or to counsel in some of those areas.
Oh, great, nice. So in 5 years' time or more, where do you see this company? Like,
Part of what will be 10 years July 1, for example, this July.
Great.
Part of what we have first achieved in 10 years is, I can say without any doubt, that we have taken outsourcing practice more towards a professional angle than it was before we started.
Okay.
Now increasingly people equate outsourcing to a professional practice as against contract staffing, which is what is mostly confused with outsourcing, and we have played a major role in leading that initiative.
Okay.
Now, but outsourcing as a management practice is still not regulated in Nigeria. So anybody can wake up and say, I'm an outsource provider. Part of what I'd like to achieve in the next 5 years for resource intermediaries, apart from being retaining and sustaining our leadership position as one of the lead providers, is to be able to have outsourcing recognized by some legislation through the National Assembly as a professional management practice, which is what it is. Outsourcing is like saying I'm a medical doctor, a lawyer. That is what it is elsewhere in the world. So it's just like I can't just wake up and open a hospital and say I'm a doctor. But here, somebody loses a job, they just put up a CV, a complimentary card, and say I'm an outsource provider, and they get the job because it's not regulated. And that's why you have all the confusion going on. Staff welfare is not taken care of, all kinds of illegal activities.
Okay. So what other values are you committed to?
As an individual, I'm very strong on the right attitude to life. And unfortunately, in our environment particularly, the negative attitudes prevail. So, and the values that drive the right attitudes basically are values of integrity, values of hard work, values also of concern for the other person, as it is being a good citizen in all ramifications. So all of that to me are quite critical. So there's nothing like African time or Nigerian time in all those every man for himself, God for us, or all those silly things. And I have studied lots of people who have achieved one success or the other. Those are the values and attributes they have, the right attitude to situations and to lives.
Okay. So, well, as a counselor you are, what other words of advice do you have for the younger generation who are looking up to you? So what do you have to tell them? What should they look up to succeed?
Well, that would be a few things.
Yeah,
Number one would be to stop trying to be like somebody else. It's a major challenge, and the advertisements and media creates that false illusion. That model, that guy with the six-pack, in real life doesn't look that way as it is. So it's just to try to be yourself. So it's for the average individual to look inwards and try to discover who they are. Nobody is here by mistake. So no individual is really an outcast or a bastard or a failure. It's to discover what one's strength is. Now once you find that strength, the next thing is to find how to associate with the right kind of people who would help you improve to be the best version of you possible. And these attributes are enhanced when you have the right and the right attitude to life. Basically are scriptural attitudes to life, which is again to the patient to use one's talent. I mean, that's why I'm an economics graduate, but this is me now thriving in human resource that I didn't go to school for, as it is. I'm a third class graduate. I have staff employees who are first class and distinction under me. So it's not your degree, it's not where you come from. It's basically having, so it's not HND or OND, it's none of those things that we kill ourselves for. It's just basically looking inwards, discovering who you are. And those three questions are key. Who am I? Who do I want to become? How do I get there? So who am I? When I did that exercise 35 years ago, I realized, okay, who am I? I'm working in a bank. I'm afraid that I won't even live to be 40 years old. I had a big fear for death at that time. I felt I was a local boy from Kwara. I couldn't make it. I felt everything I got was just by chance. So that's who I was. So who do I want to become? In answering that second question, I determined that by age 40, I don't want to be working for anybody. So it was a clear decision. What I'll do, I don't know. How, I don't know. But that clear decision helped me in answering the Soludo question when it happened. So it was easier for me to move out because I had settled that by age 40, even though I had achieved it at age 41. So how do I get there? I began to say, okay, I'm surrounded by certain class of friends now. And I began to realize that most of them are not the kind of people that are going where I want to go. So that third question helped me, and it should help you to begin to drop quite a few of the people you associate with. If they're not going where you want to go to, like that favorite saying, show me your friends and I'll tell you your future. It's a fact. Just show me who you hang out with, I can tell you where you'll be in the next 10 years. So I consistently began to refine my friends. And that's how I began to associate with people like my current chairman and a few other right kind of people who shared similar values, and it's worked out. So it's pure logic. So I am increasingly trying to be the best version of me, because nobody can be me, and I can't ever be like somebody else. So stop competing. Don't worry what they have and where they have become. Just be the best version of you every day.
Okay, thank you, sir. So you've heard it all. He said you should be yourself, be patient, and try to discover yourself and your talent. It's not all about the degree. So that's basically all for today on PagePedia Videography Challenge. Thank you, sir, for having us.
A pleasure.
Stay tuned to the next session. Thank you.